The deal, the often visceral debate over the US debt, is being seen by many as a victory for the Tea Party and America's conservative movement. Grover Norquist is one of the most influential Republican strategists on Capitol Hill. He's president of Americans for Tax Reform, whose tax pledge has been signed by just about all the Republicans in Congress. He joins me now from Washington. Mr. Norquist, good to see you. I don't think you're a big fan of President Obama, are you?
Well, not his overspending and high tax policies, no.
It says that, I read a headline a short time ago, Obama might be president, but the Tea Party is now running Washington. How true is that?
Well, President Obama was elected with a lot of slogans and speeches, but when he spent so much money and tried to nationalize health care and expanded the debt so dramatically, the reaction of the Tea Parties, which is really just independents who hadn't been focused on politics, who decided to get political, they changed the Congress in 2010. Republicans won a majority in the House. The Republicans carried 2 out of every 3 Senate seats that were up for election in 2010. So the president has to readjust to where the country wants to go. He spent a lot more than the country is willing to tolerate.
But you've been very much in a sort of no compromise mode. You've played a very hardball game. Do you feel you've come out as a winner?
Well, certainly the taxpayer movement has. The non-negotiable position that we put forward and that the Republicans in the House and the Senate put forward was, we're not going to raise taxes to pay for Obama's bigger government. We're going to reduce the size of Obama's spending. We're not raising taxes to pay for Obama's spending. Tax reform, which we will do in the future, is over on one side. Spending reform means spending less. And what did we do? We compromised a lot. The Republicans passed a bill in the House, the budget, to cut $6 trillion. The deal we've got now is only $2.5 trillion. It's a pretty big compromise, but Obama wouldn't have signed a larger spending reduction bill.
Can anybody really be seen as coming out of this as winners? And your movement is certainly described as that, when really the rest of the world is looking on in horror at what they see as an embarrassing shambles in what was, and perhaps maybe still is, the largest and most powerful economy in the world?
Well, we were beginning to move very rapidly towards Greece or France or somewhere in between there in terms of total government spending, which under Obama has gone from 20% of the economy up to 25%, and total government spending from $2.9 trillion the year Obama was elected to $3.8 trillion this year, $1 trillion up in per year. So there's a tremendous explosion of spending which did threaten the American economy. We are now beginning to claw that back. It will require an election in 2012 to get a different Senate and hopefully a different president, but we will turn the economy around in the United States.
But playing brinkmanship with the U.S. credit rating, and that's in effect what was happening, is being seen by many as an act of recklessness.
It was on the part of President Obama. He should have reduced spending when the Republicans told him to 6-7 months ago. But he just phoned it in. Remember, he was only part of these negotiations in the last few weeks. He never wrote a proposal down. You cannot find in writing the Obama idea of what we should do anywhere. He never wrote it down. He just showed up and made political speeches and then leaked to the press that nobody else was doing their job. The Republicans and the Democrats, Reid in the Senate, Boehner in the House, last week had an agreement. The president torpedoed it for political reasons because he didn't want 2 votes, one now and one in the middle of his presidential campaign, about his overspending. It's all been about the president's political needs. Why are we doing $2.5 trillion in debt ceiling increase? Why? To get you past November 2012. We've never had a debt ceiling increase that big or that long in time before. This is for Obama's political needs, and he paid for it dearly because Republicans said, if you want to politically move this past the election, you're going to have to spend less. That's why Obama bit the bullet. He doesn't like these conversations about his spending. His approval dropped to 40% during this conversation because people don't like his spending. So he had to give some of that money back.
Less taxes, though, less public spending, smaller government, all the things that you dream of, but surely it all adds up to the end of the dream of the ever-expanding U.S. economic empire, doesn't it?
That a smaller government and a lower tax rate make the United States a stronger economy, not a weaker economy. If you look around the globe, those states with lower tax burdens do better. In the United States, you can compare California and Texas. Texas is booming, no income tax. California is failing, Illinois failing, high tax states failing, low tax states succeeding.
But the markets don't appear to, I mean, apart from the first few minutes, don't appear to have embraced all this. They don't appear to buy into what you're saying. The Dow gains, early gains were raised, NASDAQ appears to be down, dollar's weaker, manufacturing appears to be stagnant according to the latest figures. I mean, it's not a great backdrop, is it?
Okay. This was not Armageddon. This was not the final battle to decide whether we were going to be big government or limited government, whether we were going to turn into Europe or return to being the United States of America. This was Bull Run. This was the beginning conflict. There are going to be many fights down the road, again and again and again, and every time we'll be arguing for less government, lower taxes, limited government, and Obama and the Democrats will advocate for more government. This was one fight, one time. We haven't turned the economy around. We are now walking slowly in the wrong direction rather than running in the wrong direction. And yet, sadly, under Obama, that's progress.
There are those, of course, of your critics who describe you as being part of the Tea Party Taliban, I think, rather disparagingly. But tell me, how big a part, how big an impact do you think that your movement, the taxpayer movement, the conservative fiscal right, the Tea Party, is going to have on the next presidential election in view of the achievements that you feel you've made in the last few weeks?
In 2010, when the country was focused on size of government questions, the Tea Party, the Republican base, the Reagan Republic flooded to the polls and defeated many, many Democrats in the House and the Senate, captured control of the House of Representatives, and won 2/3 of the Senate seats that were up. In 2012, there are 23 Democratic Senate seats up, 10 Republican seats. The Republicans will take the Senate in the next election cycle just through momentum and inertia. But if we're focused on size of government questions in November of 2012, Obama will be a one-term president and the Republicans will win a strong majority in the Senate. That's when the country can begin to turn around in the right direction. Right now, we're slowing down the mistakes of the Obama years, but we're not reversing them.
If you've had a spare moment amid all this to raise your eyes and look across the Atlantic, any thoughts on the British economy and how the Conservative coalition is handling that, and any words of advice, perhaps?
Well, they should sit down with the Taxpayer Alliance and Matthew Elliott and the great work that the Taxpayers movement has done in making proposals and putting things forward in Britain. I think that Britain has a long way to go. The government's obviously still too large, but perhaps is moving away from some of the excesses of the previous government in terms of spending. And there's been some serious move towards spending restraint in Britain, which has been helpful.
Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform. Appreciate you joining us on Sky News. Thank you.
Certainly.